Lately, I've been hearing the word inclusion being thrown under the political bus. Some, as you can imagine, have been calling it divisive, while others are saying that it's unnecessary. But here's the truth: without inclusion, society will fall apart, and there is no amount of money, power, or tradition that are going to hold those pieces together. Welcome to Zero Meaning, where we unravel words, redefine perspectives, and empower healthy change. I'm your host, Zero, and in each episode, we explore the roots and evolution of the language we use every day, clearing up misconceptions and uncovering how these words shape our thoughts, our relationships, and the way we see ourselves and the world around us. Because when we start using our words more intentionally, we also start living more intentionally. Today on Zero Meaning, we aren't just going to be defining inclusion, we're going to reclaim it and discuss just why a truly inclusive world isn't just better, it's necessary for survival. Let's start at the root of the word inclusion. The word inclusion comes from the Latin includere, to shut in, enclose, to shut. In the beginning, this word meant to bring something into a space and hold it securely within. This wasn't done reluctantly or temporarily, but fully. It was like saying and acting accordingly to the belief that you belong just because you do. There wasn't any need to explain or defend this notion. There was just belonging. Today, though, inclusion has evolved into more than just physical proximity. It's also grown into a sense of psychological safety. It's about not asking people to cut off pieces of themselves in order to be accepted. True inclusion is about saying, come as you are, and you'll be valued for who you are, not who we want you to be. In these past few months, there has been a power shift, and we are watching DEI programs being deleted across the country, from corporate America to colleges to local governments. Leaders are facing backlash, controversy, and political pressure for supporting DEI in amounts that rival the civil rights movement. And they are giving in because there are real consequences to standing up to power and doing the right moral thing against the power's influence. But here's the problem: when we allow intentional inclusion to be erased, we don't create neutrality. We enforce old systems that were already excluding people by design. And so the neutrality people say they have is really a myth when the playing field was never even leveled to begin with. What they're doing, dismantling DEI, isn't about protecting fairness like they claim. It's about protecting comfort zones for the few at the expense of the many. Without inclusion, we will repeat history. When we exclude, when we divide, eventually society will crumble again under the weight of inequality and resentment. All we have to do is look at societies like the Roman Empire, the Ottoman Empire, the Mughal Empire, and most recently, the Weimar Republic that fell to the Nazi regime. That last one feeling more and more like current events. I think that one thing that should be understood is that inclusion isn't about special treatment. It's about fair treatment. It's about recognizing that different people need different forms of support to have an equal shot. One of the phrases that really irritates me, especially when it comes to fairness, is it's not personal. I don't know what could be more personal than rejecting our individuality, rejecting the idea that we are at the table, and then being forced to accept a system that is designed to weed us out, remove us from the table, and then tell us it's our fault for not being at the table. Maybe you felt it too. Maybe you felt like you were being overlooked, overheard, or treated like a begrudged guest in a room that you helped build. Human beings need to belong, not just endure, but actually belong. That is why inclusion matters. When inclusion becomes an actual value that is practiced, not just a checking of a box, workplaces innovate, communities thrive, mental health improves overall, and creativity explodes. And that's the heart of it. When we remove the barriers, people can show up whole, not just as survivors, but as creators, dreamers, and builders of something better. That's what I try to embody in everything I create. Because inclusion isn't just about policy or practice. It's about how we hold space for each other, even in our words, our art, and the way we show up in the community. At Zero Meaning, we believe that words matter, and the spaces we create with our words matter even more. That's why I created sconeandscribe.com, a space where poetry, creativity, and raw reflection live side by side. A place where language becomes an invitation, not a gate. You'll find not just word studies and etymology, but original poetry, writing prompts, and tools that honor real inclusion in thought, emotion, and spirit. And if you're someone who appreciates gifts with meaning, like t-shirts or mugs, inspired by the words we unpack here, check out our Etsy shop under Scone and Scribe. Everything we create is meant to nurture creativity, connection, and that quiet moment when something finally clicks. We're also building a community on Facebook. Just search Scone and Scribe and follow us there. If you've ever felt like a word nerd with a poet's soul, or just needed a safe space to think out loud, we'd love to have you. As we conclude this episode of Zero Meaning, I want to say a few things. Inclusion isn't weakness. It's not wokeness either. It's wisdom. It's knowing that no society stands tall if it leaves its own people crawling. If you believe in creating spaces where every voice matters, where belonging is real and not just a slogan, then inclusion is essential to making that happen. I want to thank you for being part of this movement to reclaim meaning, redefine perspectives, and empower healthier change. Words shape the way we think, and the way we think shapes the way we live. So choose your words wisely. Always question what you've been told, and never stop seeking the truth beneath the surface. Until next time, stay mindful, stay curious, and keep redefining meaning.